Today, we're talking about panic, peace, and the fine art of putting the phone down, hopefully without breaking into hives. Notifications off, phone in the drawer. Time to put that bitch in timeout. And then the panic sets in. But what if that tiny unplug could actually be your win of the week? So let's do our weekly check-in. I managed to sneak in some strength training, which has made my legs absolutely furious with me. In the spirit of last week's Magic of Small Wins episode, I actually took the weekend off from training. Honestly, I can't remember the last time I gave myself the entire weekend off. On the crochet front, I finally got the tool I needed. It's a rotary cutter with a skip stitch blade, and it puts little holes in fabric, so it's perfect for crocheting into. Word of advice though, if you use one, put something underneath the fabric, because I now have a running dash line down my coffee table. But translation, the shirt project has officially begun. Time, however, has been the enemy, so progress is going a little slow. Hopefully, you guys found some small wins this week too. Another win of mine came with a side of parental whiplash. My youngest son, he's 13, he had his well visit, and he is now officially taller and heavier than me. Something that was once inside of my body is now bigger than my body. Freaky. Another one of my wins actually involves you guys. I gained another follower on Apple Podcasts, so welcome aboard. And I changed, washed, dried, folded, and put my sheets away in the same day. Go me. And then I had to reward myself with a Twinkie for that one, because priorities, right? So why is it so damn hard to put the phone down? It all comes down to this little thing that they call the dopamine loop. Every ping, ding, or notifications is your brain's version of a latte and a cookie, or a brand new pattern book from your favorite designer. It's screaming, yes, more please. From a neuroscience angle, those alerts light up your brain's reward circuitry, releasing the dopamine. And that's the same chemical that reinforces habits like when you get a bag of chips or checking for likes. And when you suddenly unplug, panic mode. Your brain starts screaming, wait, what if I miss something? I want my latte. Then there's the classic FOMO, FOMO, fear of missing out. Your brain convinces you that if you're not constantly scrolling, checking, or refreshing, someone, somewhere, is having a breaking news moment or a drama explosion you won't witness, or that something's happening in the world that you need to prepare for just to keep your anxiety in check. So research shows FOMO can actually drive compulsive social media use. It feeds the cycle. So yeah, when you're sitting there doom scrolling, it's basically your brain begging for that latte. And yeah, sometimes it feels like we've all developed a little social media flavored anxiety disorder, just trying to keep up. But spoiler alert, The drama will still be there when you come back. Chad from high school didn't suddenly become interesting. Neither did your grandma's post that probably should have been a private message. And even if Chad magically did get interesting, remember, the internet is forever. You can always catch up on the highlight reel. Your notifications don't actually have a backstage VIP passes. I promise. Let's get to this week's Stitch Happens, the Great Sheet Saga. So like I said in the beginning, this was Sheets Week. Every couple of weeks, I try to change our sheets. Simple, right? Well, apparently not to my co-producer, Sky. You know, the one that's normally running amok during recording. Even though she had the audacity to spill catnip all over the bed, she decided, because said bed was covered in catnip, that she did not want the sheets changed. She wanted to be like Scrooge McDuck, but instead of swimming in his gold coins, she wanted to swim in the catnip that she dumped everywhere. Every time I tried to yank them off, she'd flop down, twist around, and start flopping back and forth like a fish out of water. So I had to do the whole pet her until she stops flopping, pick her up, move her to the other side of the bed. You know, bribery for cats. And then I'd have to do it over again. When I did the blankets, when I did the fitted sheet, repeat, wash, rinse, repeat. So what should have been a 10-minute job turned into a 30-minute adventure full of purring, flopping, bribery pets, and me thinking, yep, this is what adulting looks like sometimes. I should really evaluate my life choices. But Sky didn't file a union workers complaint yet. And at the end of the day, the sheets are on. Sky's happy and probably a little stoned. I'm a little sweaty, but we all survived. And hey, I even got some unplugged time. Tiny victories, people, tiny victories. So let's talk about those tiny victories that come from actually putting the phone down. First up, focus. Suddenly you start noticing details. The way your kids laugh at something, how your coffee smells before you even take a sip, how loud your husband can chew. Not all of them are good, but you notice them. You might even catch yourself enjoying that coffee without doom scrolling through the news feed. Here's a tip. Instead of grabbing your coffee and your phone, just sit. Watch out the window. Dive into a fiction book. Or, if reading isn't your jam, there's always an audiobook. Or my favorite, pop in a mindless TV show, preferably from the 90s. Or 80s, I like Golden Girls too. But one you've seen 1,000 times, and just turn it on. Take that first cup to center yourself before you even think about touching notifications. And just ignore the cats staring at you, judging. Next, stress reduction. Not being constantly bombarded with the world's bad news is magical. Some of the things that we're hyper aware of now, you didn't hear about it in the 70s, 80s, early 90s. You know, you didn't hear about somebody getting killed in Louisiana because you didn't live in Louisiana. You only got what was on the local news. But now, It's everywhere in your face repetitively. Think about it like a boogeyman. If you stare at scary stuff all day, you're going to expect it to jump out at every corner. And just like we talked about there being no perfect parent, there's also no such thing as 24/7 doom. Fun fact for you, did you know that studies from the American Psychological Association show that constant news exposure can increase stress and anxiety levels, even when the events don't directly affect you? And let's not forget the sleep benefits. No blue light hijacking your bedtime, no last minute scrolling keeping your brain in overdrive. Your brain has a chance to finally rest. So, Harvard Medical School research has actually confirmed that blue light from screens can suppress melatonin production. And melatonin, some of you might not know, is the hormone that helps regulate your sleep-wake cycle. That makes it harder to fall asleep and reduce quality sleep. My co-producer Sky has decided that now is the perfect time to play in the cat house, but we're just going to keep going because this is life. So let's talk about a time we had to unplug. So one day we had a full-on power outage for the entire day. And suddenly, there's nothing to do. No TV, no internet. Even the video games that they love could only last so long because you had no way to charge them. So I got the bright idea, and we decorated for Christmas in October. And you know what? It was amazing. No screens, no deadlines, just tinsel, Christmas lights, some very confused pets. And it forced us to talk to each other. And shockingly, I know people can still do that in real life. Weird, right? And a fun fact is actually decorating early for the holidays has been linked in some studies to increase the feeling of happiness and nostalgia. So maybe, just maybe, we were onto something. Before we dive into this week's Brews News, I want to make sure you guys know that I pull my information from a mixture of sources such as Midas Touch, Legal AF, Ground News. There's just some, to name a few. And then I fact check them obsessively. Thank you, OCD. But I want to make sure that I am correct in the information I give and that you're getting a well-rounded, reality-checked view on the week's chaos. Because let's be honest, chaos is way more well-rounded when you know it's not coming from just one corner of the internet. So let's talk Epstein Files showdown. I'm not going to let this story die or let these women be silenced again. So we will talk about it, keep it alive. This week, Senate Democrat leader Chuck Schumer tried a rare procedural move to force a vote on releasing the DOJ files related to Jeffrey Epstein. However, like everything else, the GOP majority tabled it 51-49, with only Rand Paul and Josh Hawley breaking ranks. This came right after the House Oversight Committee dropped the new material from the Epstein's estate, which includes the infamous 238-page birthday book that Ghislaine Maxwell had made for his 50th. It's disturbing. Personal notes from high-profile figures, bizarre animal imagery, crude sketches, such as one that really stuck out. It shows a man handing candy and balloons to young girls with the year 1983. On the other side of the paper, it's the same man being, air quotes, massaged by a scantily clad woman with the date 2003 and a caption of, "What a great country." To me, that just screams grooming. Then you have Maxwell's testimony is under scrutiny again, because what she said and what his emails they now have access to contradict each other, along with finding Amazon gag gifts that were ordered, such as schoolgirl uniforms. If you really want to see a good floor fight, Rep Jared Mazowski's, his videos are out there. Again, Minus Touch is a good one to watch. He has sharp questions, a little bit of political theater, and a masterclass of mic control. And it might feel wrong that he's adding humor to a dark subject, but sometimes you have to, because a well-placed funny moment can be the hook that keeps people and keeps the truth, it keeps people's attention and keeps the truth from slipping away. The entirety of this fight is not just about the sex trafficking. It's also about transparency in one of the most high-profile abuse cases in modern history. By releasing the files, they can expose more names, clarify his network, and honestly reveal why nobody else has been prosecuted. Honestly, if they let Sky guard those files the way she guarded my fitted sheets, we just have to give some belly rubs and we'd have them. Shut down blame game. So funding runs out on September 30th. And the partisan finger pointing is already in full swing. Speaker Mike Johnson blames Democrats for rejecting their common sense funding, while Democrats note that Republicans control both chambers and are steering towards a shutdown to protect Trump's priorities. The White House wants a short-term clean bill, and Democrats want them to reverse the cuts for Medicaid from Trump's one big beautiful bill. Meanwhile, the ICE raids are really hitting the economy. An example of this was Hyundai's $4.3 billion Georgia battery plant. It was a joint venture with LG Energy. Was hit by a raid on September 4th, detaining 475 workers. Mostly South Korean nationals. A lot were here legally. They were brought with visas to help set up, run, and train for the battery plant. By doing this raid, they delayed the opening by 2 to 3 months, and it had a trickle-down effect as it also paused at least 22 other U.S. projects tied to the CO-based companies. Industry officials warn that it could top $100 billion in value because of the delays. A shutdown halts federal services, only what they deem as necessary. Delays paychecks. So one misconception is that when there's a shutdown, the government workers don't work. Oh, they work. They have to go to work. They don't get a vacation. They just don't get paid. And this will ripple through the economy, because if they don't get paid, they can't pay their bills. They, don't have money for groceries and stuff. So they stop spending, which then, as always, trickles down, trickle down, trickle down. Immigration enforcement is now directly impacting U.S. manufacturing jobs. If this keeps up, my Twinkie reward budget is going to need its own line item. So let's talk political violence and the selective response. In recent months, 3 Targeted killings have shaken the country. In Utah, a nationally known political figure was murdered during a university event, sparking a flood of conspiracy theories, AI-generated fakes, misidentifications that spread faster than the corrections did. It's hot in the news right now. I don't need to go into details. In Minnesota, however, a former state House Speaker, Melissa Hortman, and her husband were assassinated in their home by a gunman disguised as a police officer. The same night, another state senator and his wife were shot and wounded. Investigators say the killer had a hit list of 45 elected officials. At first, they tried to say it was because she voted against her party, but actually, from what I've read, all of the hit lists had to do with abortion rights. Despite her decades of service, the national response was muted. When asked recently about lowering the flags, the president replied, "Who?" He didn't even remember her name. And then says he would have if someone had asked, even though he said he didn't call the governor of the state, which is usually what happens. And then in Atlanta, there was Officer Dave Rose, a Marine veteran, husband, a father of two with the third one on the way. He was murdered while responding to a targeted shooting at the CDC. The gunman fired nearly 200 rounds into 6 buildings before killing himself, forcing a full-day lockdown. So here's the contrast. One killing drew immediate presidential remarks. Flag lowering, national civilian honors, the works. Others, despite the scale and sacrifice, got no flag lowering, no Oval Office address, and barely a headline. If the national spotlight can shine so brightly for some and go dark so quickly for others, then it's up to us to keep that light burning by talking about it, by saying their names. Because forgetting is exactly how the cycle keeps repeating. So now for our quick pour. We're going to do a quick, snappy, the economy right now. Jobs. August added 22,000 jobs, which is actually the weakest in years. Unemployment is peaked at 4.3%, and that's the highest it's been since 2021. Inflation, prices are up 2.9% year over year. Core inflation is at 3.1%. Jobless claims are at a 4-year high, which causes your growth to cool. So the markets are expecting the Fed to cut the rate by a quarter point. Tariffs, immigration crackdowns, and stalled foreign investments are slowing growth. CBO projects GDP to drop from 2.5 last year to 1.4 in 2025. So Sky's catnip budget, it might take a hit. She gonna have to ration it out. With the Senate sparring over transparency, shutdown brinkmanship threatening the economy, and the news cycle running at full tilt, it's no wonder why we really need to hit pause. It is not just self-care. It's survival in the attention economy. So, put the phone in the drawer, pour yourself a nice cup of coffee, and if you manage to change your sheets without a 30-minute cat wrestling match, reward yourself with your Twinkie. Tiny victories, people. Tiny victories. All right, so we're ready to unplug. We got the why. Let's work on the how. Because we don't want to end up pacing the room like a ferret in a cage. So let's talk about how to do this without losing your mind. Step 1. Start small. Even just 1 hour can make a big difference. Studies show short, intentional breaks from screens can lower stress hormones and improve mood. Yeah, science backs me up. Coffee without doom scrolling actually helps. Try what I call tech-free coffee time. Grab your coffee, grab your current project, cuddle a purring cat. If you don't have one, I'm sure Rain or Sky will. This says Rain. Rain's my dog. Cloud or Sky will happily volunteer and just sit. Let the world wait for a bit. I mean, you could cuddle with Rain, but he's about 80 pounds, so he loves the cuddle, but you definitely ain't getting no crocheting done. Step 2, build rituals. Phone-free walks, crocheting, reading, whatever you enjoy that keeps your hands and brain occupied without screens. Over time, these small rituals become anchors in your day. Research shows they can actually retrain your brain to seek calm instead of the constant stimulation. Step 3, replace the urge. When your fingers start twitching for a phone, have something ready. Journal, stretch it out, stare dramatically out the window like you're in a 90s music video. Or if you're lucky enough to maybe catch a rainstorm, just listen. Your brain gets a little dopamine treat without the stress spiral of endless notifications. When I quit smoking, that was my hardest part, was my hands. I had to do something with my hands. That's actually why I took up crocheting, was to keep my hands busy. Because let's be honest, it's an addiction. Your phone's an addiction. Smoking was an addiction. But those addictions use your hands. So when you're trying to distract your brain, do something with your hands. That will help. Step 4, experiment. Find your unplugged comfort zone. Maybe it's an hour in the middle of the morning. Maybe it's Sunday mornings. Maybe it's just 15 minutes before bed. Play around. See what works and give yourself grace if you slip up. Remember, this is not about perfection. It's about giving your brain space to breathe. And yes, if you catch cloud, sky, or rain judging you for staring out the window, that's just their way of supporting you. And remember, the FOMO will pass, but the peace you get from being present, that sticks around. Time for Shuffle Happens, the tarot card of the week. This week's card, again, we're going through my Sacred Kingdom deck, is the Empress. So picture this. It's a clear night sky. The moon is glowing. Stars are scattered in the sky like diamonds overhead. She stands in a field of flowers. The lower half of her body is wrapped in a half-flower cocoon. In front of her is a single pole topped with a bright, glowing light. It's about waist level. Her eyes are closed in quiet meditation. Her bright white hair is slow, it's drifting in a gentle breeze. A luminous crown is gently resting on her head. Red flowers dot the ground. Pink blossoms wrap around the cocoon, and white blossoms rest on her shoulders going up into her hair. It's serene, it's nurturing. It's the kind of scene that you can almost take a nice deep breath in. So her keywords when she's upright is creativity, nurturing, and abundance. When she shows up reversed, it can stand for stagnation, overextension, and lack of growth. Well, so how does she tie into unplugging? The Empress reminds us that abundance doesn't just happen when you're endlessly scrolling. She's all about tending to the garden, both the one around you and the one inside you. Research from the University of Pennsylvania and the APA, American Psychological Association, show that reducing social media use to about 30 minutes a day can improve well-being, lower loneliness, and depression scores. Other studies link digital detox periods to increased creativity, better problem solving, and those are the qualities that the Empress embodies. When you take a step back from screens, you create a space for your creativity to bloom and your mental well-being to thrive. So take a moment with her this week. Maybe journal about how you can nurture yourself and your digital habits. Could it be a phone-free morning coffee, a tech-free walk? Even just giving yourself a moment and permission to just stop and breathe without notifications. Think about what abundance looks like in your life and how unplugging might be the sunlight and water it needs to grow. All right, mental health mode activated. One of the biggest wins from unplugging, less comparison. When you step away from the screens, you're not just measuring your life against someone else's filtered perfection. Life is filter free, my friends. So do not compare your apple to their orange. And remember, your apple probably has better Wi-Fi anyway. So it's been noted from research from the Cleveland Clinic that social media use can trigger unhealthy social comparisons, which are linked to lower self-esteem, higher rates of anxiety and depression. Taking a break from the platforms can reduce those effects. We all know that, but knowing and doing are sometimes two separate things. But you also get more grounding. You make a space to actually hear your own thoughts. Maybe that looks like a nice hot bath, glass of wine, if that's your thing. Not for me, but hey, you do you. I'll take my coffee. Or throwing on your comfort show. Friends, Golden Girls, whatever. I Love Lucy. I love that one. For the 100th time. While you crochet. Fold laundry. So you can just kind of zone out and exist. Studies on digital detox show that it can increase present moment awareness and mindfulness, which again reduces stress and improves mood. But here's the key takeaway from all this. It's not about deleting the apps forever. You don't have to quit Facebook. You don't have to quit Instagram. I don't really do TikTok. I'm trying. But you don't have to quit TikTok. It's about reclaiming your control over them and not letting them control you. Remember, when our kids were younger, we set screen time limits. We kind of have to do that for ourselves. A little structure, a little unplugged time, and suddenly your brain will feel like it's had a mini vacation. Even just short intentional breaks, just as little as 30 minutes, have been shown to improve well-being and reduce symptoms of depression. And as somebody who has major depressive disorder, anything I can do to make that not as bad, it's worth it. And honestly, it's something that we all deserve. All right, that's a wrap for episode 8. I managed to get my recording done before anybody woke up, so another win for me. Remember, tiny win is the message here. Unplugging doesn't have to be dramatic to matter. Even a small break from screens is a win, and it's momentum you can build on. Just like last week when we talked about small wins. Start small and build on it. So here's my challenge to you. Try it. If you can't do an hour, do a half hour. If you can't do a half hour, do 15 minutes. Notice how it feels. What pops up in your head? Or even how your coffee tastes when it's not paired with notifications. And if you're feeling brave, share your experience with me. I'd love to hear it. And as always, thanks for hanging out. Hopefully your coffee is stronger than your kids' attitudes. Your crochet hooks are sassier than your pets. Your projects are hopefully less demanding. And together, we'll keep finding tiny wins, one episode at a time. If you enjoyed hanging out today, as always, you can hit the follow so you don't miss the next round of coffee, crochet, and chaos. Maybe share with a friend who needs a tiny win this week. Leave a review, whatever. I'll catch you next week for more laughs, life, and always a little chaos. As I always say, keep your stitches sassy and your coffee strong.